The Divergence, an in-depth analysis. A philosophical examination of incompatibility. Conceived by Joseph I. Introduction. The paradox of perfect understanding. The tragedy of Ben and Bate is not one of misunderstanding. It is not a failure to communicate. It is not a lack of love. It is not circumstance, timing, or external pressure. The tragedy of Ben and Bate is that they understood each other perfectly. They were two philosophers who spoke the same language, read the same texts, respected each other's minds. They could anticipate each other's arguments. They could complete each other's sentences. They could see the world through each other's eyes, and that was precisely the problem. Because seeing the world through each other's eyes meant seeing exactly where the other person was wrong. And neither could unsee it. This is the paradox at the heart of their relationship: intellectual compatibility without philosophical compatibility. They could think together, they could not believe together, they could understand each other, they could not become each other. And love, as it turns out, is not a substitute for shared meaning. The philosophical divide, two fundamentally different worlds. Ben's philosophy, the world of meaning. Ben sees the world through a lens of transcendent meaning. His philosophy is grounded in several core convictions. 1. Narrative and purpose. Ben believes that human life is fundamentally narrative. We are not just collections of atoms, we are characters in a story. Our lives have arcs, turning points, moments of significance. This narrative structure is not something we impose on a meaningless world. It is something we discover. It is real. He believes that history, both personal and collective, has direction, that progress is possible, that we can become better than we were, that there is a moral arc to the universe, and it bends toward justice. 2. The reality of love. For Ben, love is irreducible. It cannot be reduced to biology, chemistry, or evolutionary strategy. When he loves Bate, he is not experiencing a dopamine hit designed to propagate his genes. He is experiencing something real, something that points beyond the material world to a deeper truth about connection, commitment, and the nature of being. He believes that love is evidence of something beyond the physical, that the intensity of his feeling, the depth of his commitment, the willingness to sacrifice for another, these are not illusions. They are signposts toward transcendence. 3. Ubuntu and interconnectedness. Ben is deeply influenced by Ubuntu, the African philosophy that emphasizes interconnectedness. I am because we are. He believes that we are not separate individuals, but nodes in a vast network of relationship. Our identity is not located in our individual consciousness, but in our connection to others. This means that meaning is not something we create alone. It is something we share. It is something we are. The community, the family, the tribe, these are not just social constructs. They are the ground of being. 4. Objective morality. Ben believes that some things are objectively good and others are objectively evil, not because society says so, not because evolution programmed us to think so, but because goodness is real as gravity or magnetism. He believes that kindness is not a strategy, sacrifice is not a calculation, love is not a trick. These things are true. They are true whether we believe them or not. 5. Hope as a virtue. For Ben, hope is not a delusion. It is a virtue. It is the courage to believe in a better future even when the evidence is ambiguous. It is the refusal to accept that the way things are is the way things must be. He sees his hope as a strength, not a weakness. He sees it as the engine of moral progress, the fuel of love, the foundation of any meaningful life. Bate's philosophy, the world of clarity. Bate sees the world through a lens of rigorous materialism. Her philosophy is grounded in several core convictions. 1. Eliminative materialism. Bate believes that the mind is the brain. There is no separate consciousness. There is no soul. There is no spirit. Everything we experience, love, hope, meaning, purpose, is a product of neural activity. This is not a diminishment for her. It is a liberation. She is not saying that love is less because it is biology. She is saying that love is real because it is biology. The material is the only reality we have. To pretend otherwise is to live in a fantasy. 2. Moral anti-realism. Bate does not believe in objective morality. She believes that good and evil are judgments we make based on our evolutionary programming and social conditioning. They are useful fictions, strategies for survival, but they are not true in any ultimate sense. This does not mean she is immoral. She is intensely moral in her own way. She believes in compassion, kindness, and justice, but she believes these are preferences, not truths. She chooses to be kind because it feels right, not because the universe demands it. 3. The illusion of meaning. Bate believes that meaning is a story we tell ourselves to feel less alone. The universe is indifferent. It does not care about us. It does not have a plan. It does not have a purpose. This is not a tragedy for her. It is just reality, and reality, once accepted, can be lived with. She finds beauty in the brief, fragile existence we have. She finds wonder in consciousness. She finds joy in connection. But she does not pretend that these things are more than they are. 4. Radical honesty. For Bate, honesty is the highest virtue, not kindness, not hope, not faith. Honesty, the refusal to lie to yourself, to others, to the universe. She would rather be right than happy. She would rather face the void than fill it with comforting illusions. She would rather be alone and honest than together and pretending. 5. Clarity as freedom. Bate does not see her clarity as coldness. She sees it as freedom. Freedom from the need to believe. Freedom from the terror of uncertainty. Freedom from the desperate clinging to stories that cannot be true. She is not afraid of the void. She has looked into it and found it, not terrifying, not empty, not cold, just there, and she is okay with that. The unbridgeable gap. A. Intellectual understanding versus philosophical belief. Ben and Bate understand each other completely. This is not a relationship of mutual incomprehension. They know exactly where the other person stands. Ben knows that Bate believes love is biology. He knows that she sees hope as a fiction. He knows that she does not believe in transcendence. Bate knows that Ben believes love is transcendent. She knows that he sees hope as a virtue. She knows that he believes in meaning. They understand each other perfectly, and they cannot accept each other's worldview. This is the first level of the tragedy. Intellectual understanding does not lead to philosophical agreement. It leads to the opposite. Understanding the other person's position makes you more aware of how wrong they are. Ben cannot accept Bate's materialism because it undermines everything he holds dear. If she is right, his hope is a delusion, his love is biology, his meaning is a story. Bate cannot accept Ben's transcendence because it requires her to lie. It requires her to pretend that things are more than they are. It requires her to invest in illusions she has already seen through. They are trapped in a logic loop. Each position is internally coherent. Each position is incompatible with the other, and neither can surrender without betraying themselves. B. The problem of shared meaning. The core of their incompatibility is the question of shared meaning. For a relationship to work, really work, there must be a shared understanding of what the relationship means. What is love? What is commitment? What is the purpose of being together? Ben believes that love is a transcendent union. It is two souls connecting. It is a commitment to something larger than themselves. It is a sacred bond. Bate believes that love is a preference. It is choosing to be with someone because they make you happy. It is a mutual insurance policy against loneliness. It is a strategy for survival. Neither of them is wrong in their own framework, but the frameworks are incompatible. Ben needs Bate to see love as he sees it. He needs her to believe. He needs her to share his meaning. Bate cannot do that. She cannot pretend to believe something she does not believe. She cannot call biology transcendence. She cannot call strategy sacred. And so they are left with two different understandings of what they are doing together, two different definitions of love, two different visions of the future. They are speaking the same language, but meaning different things. See the impossibility of compromise. They tried to compromise, they really tried. Ben tried to accept Bates' worldview. He tried to live without meaning. He tried to be content with clarity. He tried to believe that love was enough. He couldn't. Bate tried to accept Ben's worldview. She tried to believe in transcendence. She tried to open herself to meaning. She tried to love without reducing. She couldn't. Compromise is impossible when the thing being compromised is your understanding of reality. Ben cannot sort of believe in transcendence. He either believes or he doesn't, and if he doesn't, he loses everything. Bate cannot sort of believe in materialism. She either believes or she doesn't, and if she doesn't, she becomes someone she is not. They could pretend, they could perform, they could go through the motions of agreement while secretly holding their convictions. But that would be a lie, and both of them, in their own ways, value honesty too much to live that lie. Ben would rather be alone than pretend to believe what he does not believe. Bate would rather be alone than pretend to be someone she is not. D. The insufficiency of love. They loved each other, there is no question about that. Ben loved Bate with his whole heart. He loved her warmth, her brilliance, her devastating clarity. He loved the way she challenged him. He loved the way she made him think. He loved the way she made him feel, even when she was making him feel broken. Bate loved Ben with her whole heart. She loved his hope, his earnestness, his beautiful, foolish faith. She loved the way he saw the world. She loved the way he made her question her own certainty. She loved the way he made her feel, even when she couldn't explain it. Love was real, love was profound, love was overwhelming. And love was not enough. Because love is a feeling, and feelings are not foundations. You cannot build a life on a feeling. You cannot build a shared future on a feeling. You cannot sustain a relationship on a feeling. You need shared meaning. You need shared values. You need a shared understanding of what the relationship is and why it matters. Ben and Bate had everything else. They had intellectual compatibility. They had emotional connection. They had profound, overwhelming love. They did not have shared meaning. And without shared meaning, love is just longing. It is just wanting. It is just wishing things were different. It is not a foundation. It is not a future. It is not enough. IV. The moment of separation. A. The job offers. The separation was triggered by circumstance, but it was not caused by circumstance. Ben was offered a job in Cape Town. Bate was offered a fellowship in London. They could have solved the logistics. They could have made a long-distance relationship work. They could have found a way to be together. But the job offers forced them to confront what they had been avoiding, the fundamental incompatibility of their worldviews. Ben was not just leaving for a job. He was leaving because he needed to find something he could believe in. He needed to find meaning. He needed to find hope. He needed to find someone or something that could sustain him. Bate was not just leaving for a fellowship. She was leaving because she needed to be who she was. She needed her clarity. She needed her rigor. She needed to build a life that was honest, even if it was alone. They could have made it work logistically. They could not have made it work philosophically. B. The final conversation. The final conversation was brutal because it was honest. Ben begged Bate to stay. He offered to follow her. He offered to compromise. He offered to give up everything, his hope, his meaning, his very self to be with her. Bate refused, not because she didn't love him, because she loved him enough to let him go. She told him, "I can't be what you need, and you can't be what I need, and we're just hurting each other." He told her, "I don't care, I'll take the hurt, I'll take the pain, I'll take anything to be with you." She told him, "That's not love, that's desperation, and desperation is just resentment in waiting." He told her, "Then what is love?" She told him, Love is letting go when you can't be what the other person needs. He told her, I don't know how to let go. She told him, neither do I, but we have to try. See the meaning of their words. When Ben said, I love you, he meant, you are everything. You are my meaning. You are my hope. You are my reason for believing in something beyond myself. When Bate said, I love you, she meant, you are the most important person in my life. You make me feel things I can't explain. You are the closest I have ever come to believing in something I can't prove. The words were the same, the meaning was different. When Ben said we can make it work, he meant love will find a way. If we just try hard enough, if we just care enough, if we just commit enough, we can overcome any obstacle. When Bate said we can't make it work, she meant love is not a force that overcomes reality. Love is a feeling that exists within reality, and reality says we are incompatible. The words were the same, the meaning was different. They understood each other perfectly, and that understanding was precisely what made them incompatible. The tragedy of understanding. Why understanding made it worse. In most relationships, people separate because they don't understand each other. They miscommunicate, they make assumptions, they project their own feelings onto the other person. Ben and Bate separated because they understood each other too well. They knew exactly what the other person believed. They knew exactly why the other person believed it. They knew exactly how the other person would respond to every argument, every plea, every attempt at reconciliation. And they knew that neither of them would ever change. This is the cruel irony of their relationship. If they had misunderstood each other, they might have held on to hope. They might have thought, if I just explain myself better, if I just try harder, if I just love more, they will understand. But they didn't misunderstand each other. They understood each other completely, and that understanding killed any possibility of hope. Because you can't hope for someone to change when you know they can't. You can't hope for someone to see something they can't see. You can't hope for a reconciliation of worldviews when you know the worldviews are fundamentally incompatible. Be the pain of honesty. Both Ben and Bate were too honest for their own good. Ben was honest about his need for meaning. He couldn't pretend to be satisfied with clarity. He couldn't pretend that love was enough. He couldn't pretend that he didn't need to believe. Bate was honest about her inability to believe. She couldn't pretend to share his hope. She couldn't pretend that love was transcendent. She couldn't pretend that she was someone she was not. Their honesty was a virtue. It was also a curse. If they had been less honest, they might have stayed together. They might have pretended. They might have performed. They might have gone through the motions of a relationship while secretly holding incompatible convictions. But they couldn't do that. Neither of them could live a lie. So they chose to be honest, and honesty cost them everything. See the difference between love and compatibility. They loved each other. They were not compatible. This is the central insight of their tragedy. Love is not the same as compatibility. Love is a feeling. It is powerful, overwhelming, transformative. It can make you feel like you are connected to something larger than yourself. It can make you feel like you can overcome any obstacle. But love does not make you compatible. Love does not bridge the gap between incompatible worldviews. Love does not create shared meaning where there is none. Compatibility requires shared values, shared beliefs, shared understanding of what the relationship is and why it matters. Ben and Bate did not have that. They had love. They did not have compatibility. And love, as it turns out, is not a substitute for compatibility. The aftermath. Ben's perspective. Ben is still hopping. He is still believing. He is still carrying Bate with him. He doesn't know if he will ever find someone who shares his worldview. He doesn't know if he will ever find meaning in the way he needs to. He doesn't know if he will ever be whole again. But he keeps hopping, he keeps believing, he keeps loving. Because that's who he is, that's what he believes, that's what sustains him. He will always love Bate. He will always carry her. He will always believe that somewhere, in some other world, they made it work. But this is the world they have, and in this world, they didn't. B. Bate's perspective. Bate is still clear, she is still rigorous, she is still carrying Ben with her. She doesn't know if she will ever find someone who shares her worldview. She doesn't know if she will ever find satisfaction in the way she needs to. She doesn't know if she will ever be fully at peace. But she keeps her clarity, she keeps her rigor, she keeps her honesty. Because that's who she is, that's what she believes, that's what sustains her. She will always love Ben, she will always carry him, she will always believe that somewhere, in some other world, they made it work. But this is the world they have, and in this world, they didn't. See the mutual grief. They both grieve, they grieve differently, but they both grieve. Ben grieves with hope. He grieves with the belief that somehow, somewhere, something will make sense of it. He grieves with the conviction that love is not a waste, that meaning will be found, that purpose will be revealed. Bate grieves without hope. She grieves with clarity. She grieves with the knowledge that her grief is just grief. It doesn't lead anywhere. It doesn't mean anything. It just is. Neither of them is wrong. Neither of them is right. They are just different. And that difference is the tragedy. VII conclusion, the ultimate tragedy. The ultimate tragedy of Ben and Bate is not that they couldn't be together. The ultimate tragedy is that they could be together, intellectually, emotionally, romantically, and they still couldn't make it work. They had everything. They had mutual respect. They had intellectual compatibility. They had profound, overwhelming love. They had the willingness to try, the commitment to work, the desire to make it last. And it still wasn't enough. Because they didn't share a worldview, they didn't share a sense of meaning, they didn't share an understanding of what love is, what purpose is, what life is for. They were two people who saw the world in fundamentally different ways, and they could not change each other's vision. This is the tragedy at the heart of the divergence, that sometimes the people we understand best are the people we can never truly be with. Not because we don't love them, not because they don't love us, but because understanding is not the same as agreement, and love is not the same as compatibility. Sometimes the person who gets you the most is the person who can never be with you, because they get you so well that they know that your differences cannot be bridged. And that knowledge, that clarity, is what kills the relationship. Ben and Bate understood each other completely. They loved each other completely. And that love and understanding, far from saving them, sealed their fate. They were too honest to pretend. They were too self-aware to change. They were too different to be together. And so they separated, not because they stopped loving, but because love was not enough. The divergence is a tragedy of the highest order, not a tragedy of misunderstanding, but a tragedy of understanding too well, not a tragedy of hate, but a tragedy of love that could not overcome philosophical incompatibility. It asks the deepest questions: what is love? What is meaning? What is the purpose of connection? And it answers with the cruelest truth: sometimes there is no answer. Sometimes the questions themselves are the barrier. Ben and Bate loved each other, they understood each other, and they could not be together. That is the tragedy, that is the divergence.